Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. Today's video is going to be my December reading recap where I will be taking you through all of the books that I read during the month of December. So let's go ahead and get into it. So as usual with my updates, I am going to be ranking my books that I read from my least favorite to my favorite. Then I will share some overall stats for the month, and I will end with a book haul. I did receive some books for Christmas, so this will be my Christmas book haul. There are not a lot of them, but I wanted to go ahead and include them in this video. So let's go ahead and dive in to my rankings. So coming in at number 10 was the 24th Nancy Drew book, which is The Clue in the Old Album by Carolyn Keene. I gave this one 2 stars. This is by far my least favorite of all of the Nancy Drews that I have read for a plethora of reasons, but mostly because the mystery itself just was not solid enough. So 2 stars for this one. It was my least favorite. At number 9 is Endless by Kate Bryan. This is the 3rd and final book in her Shadowlands trilogy, and I also gave this one 2 stars. I just was not happy with where the series as a whole went. The first book was great. The series went downhill from there. At number 8 is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia. I was really expecting this to be far more impactful than it turned out to be. I found it very kind of run-of-the-mill and mediocre, and in the end I only gave it 3 stars. At number 7 is The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. It's kind of the same deal as the last book I just talked about. It was just a very mediocre mystery. It was fun and engaging, but nothing terribly deep. There weren't really any twists and turns, so it was just a 3-star. At number 6 is Family Lore by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is her adult debut, and y'all, this one was interesting. There were parts of this that I really enjoyed, and then there were parts that I really did not. So in the end, I'm giving it 3 stars. This will not be one that I hold on to. I'm going to go ahead and rehome it. Hopefully someone else will have better luck with it. But yes, this was not the Elizabeth Acevedo that I was anticipating based on having loved a lot of her YA books. So this one was definitely interesting and 3 stars. At number 5 is the first volume of Dragon Ball by Akira Toriyama. Now, I only read the first one. This is like a 3-in-1 collection. So the first one is called The Monkey King. That's the only one that I read, and I gave it 3 stars. I have watched the anime. I quite enjoy it. It is definitely geared towards teenage boys. There were some things that were a little suspect in terms of some of the language, the things that happen. Definitely do not condone it, but this was kind of a fun trip down nostalgia lane, and it's fun to see the source material after having watched the animated version. So I will be continuing with this series at least through this volume, and then I'll see how I feel after that. But yeah, it was fun. Nothing too deep, very silly, but a good time. At number 4 is The Nightingale by Kristin, which I'm giving 4 stars. I really thought this would be a 5-star. I thought it would make me cry. I thought it would just really do it for me, and it really didn't. There is a relationship in here that is literally insta-love, and that is not something I was expecting from this book or this author, and there were just parts of it that didn't work for me. I didn't really feel super emotionally connected to any of the characters regardless of the horrific things that are happening, and it just wasn't my absolute favorite. I still had a good time with it, I still enjoyed it, and I would still recommend it, but I'm only giving it 4 stars. At number 3 is The Ship of the Dead, which is the 3rd and final book in the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series by Riordan. This follows Norse mythology. Magnus is the son of the god fray, and this is his and his friends' adventures to stop Ragnarok. It was a good time. The audio is very funny. Magnus is very reminiscent of Percy, and this book actually gave us a cameo from Percy, which I quite enjoyed. So if you like the Percy Jackson books, I don't see why you wouldn't like this one. I feel like the representation is quite good in this one, even if it's not quite perfect. It's much better than what you see in a lot of other middle grade books, so I would recommend, and I had a good time with it. At number 2 is my final book of 2023, which was A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. This is the third and final book in her Shades of Magic trilogy. I did not love the second one. I only gave it 3 stars, but y'all, this one was fantastic. 5 stars. This is how a series should be wrapped up. It made me feel things. It didn't make me cry, but there were definitely things that like caught at me, surprised me, and I just really liked how the whole story came together. So I loved this. This was definitely one of my favorite series finales that I think I've ever read. I would highly recommend the series because I'm kind of the weirdo with book 2. A lot of other people really do like it. I just wasn't one of them, but this made up for that. I loved it so much, and I am looking forward to reading the sequel series at some point. And number 1, my favorite book of December was Ring Shout by P. Jolly Clark. I read this in a vlog where I wrapped up the Buzzword-a-thon, so I will link that vlog up above. You can go back and see my full thoughts there. But this was incredibly well done, very emotional, very impactful, very short. It is a novella. I would highly recommend it. The audio in particular really brought the characters to life, really pulled me in. I loved it. So 5 stars for that one, my favorite of the month. All right, now let's dive into some stats because I always like to do some reading stats each month. So to start off, I did read a total of 10 books in December. This worked out to 5 audiobooks, 3 mixed media books, which were a combination of audio and physical, 1 ebook, and 1 solely physical book. This came out to a total of 3,379 pages. And in terms of series, I did read 5 series books and 5 standalone books. Now, the goal was to finish some series in December, which I'm happy to say I did. So I did finish 3 series. I continued 1 series with the Nancy Drew, and then I started 1 series with Dragon Ball, although again, as I mentioned, I'm not positive I'm gonna read that through to its entirety. I'll just have to see how it goes. For authors, I did read from 4 brand new to me authors, and I read from 6 returning authors. For genres, I had kind of a large mix of things. So I had 8 different genres, which breaks down to 2 books that were historical fiction, 2 that were paranormal, and then 1 each from magical realism, manga, horror, thriller, mythology, and fantasy. In terms of the age breakdown of the books, I did read 4 adult books, 4 young adult books, 1 middle grade book, and 1 children's book. Regarding where the book came from, I did actually read 5 owned books, which is fantastic. And then I did read 5 borrowed books from either my library or Scribd/Everand. And then for star breakdowns, I did have 2 2 stars, 4 3 stars, 2 4 stars, and 2 5 stars. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end off with a book haul. Again, this is also my Christmas book haul, and I'm just gonna kind of go through them. So the first one I did receive for Christmas is Hold Still by Nina LaCour. This is on my 24 in 2024, so I wanted a physical copy. I've loved every Nina LaCour book I've bought, so I don't see why this one will be any different. So I did want to have something to put on my shelf. Another Christmas book and another one from my 24 in 2024 is Girl Sleuth, Nancy Drew and the Women Who Created Her by Melanie Rahak. I have been rereading the Nancy Drew series, so I thought it would be fun to kind of see what this has to say. Continuing with Christmas gifts, I did get this box set of the Fear Street books by R.L. Stine. This has Runaway, Secret Admirer, and The Perfect Date, which are numbers 1, 2, and 3. I loved these when I was younger, and I'm looking forward to kind of rereading some of them just to see what I still think about them as an adult. I was also gifted Midnight in Chernobyl by Adam Higginbotham. This is the untold story of the world's greatest nuclear disaster. I have always been kind of fascinated with Chernobyl and the fallout from that, from the ghost town that it left behind, the area that's uninhabitable, all of that. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. I feel like it's going to be very, very interesting. I was also gifted the updated version of The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is the only book that I've read by her in this series, although I did read the novella. She is rewriting all of the ones that have been released up to this point, so I probably will be picking those up once they're released, I believe in May, and then reading what's been written, including a reread of this, because she pretty extensively rewrote this. It says it's fully revised with new material. I'm looking forward to it. I really liked The Bone Season when I read it a couple years ago, but I'm not really super clear on what happened, so I will need to reread this before I moved on anyway, and I figured I might as well wait until they've all been re-released. Then in terms of books that I just picked up myself, I picked up Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This is a book that I'm hoping to tackle in 2024. I tried to read this several years ago and DNF'd it, and I would really like to try to get all the way through it. This is the Penguin cloth-bound classic version. It's got like the ribbon bookmark, the cloth-bound cover. I would love to own all of these at some point, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick this up in this version so it can stay on my shelves, and hopefully I will actually be able to get through it because I did DNF it the last time I tried. And the final book is my Book of the Month book from December, and that is The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson. This is a retelling of The Nutcracker. This sounds really, really interesting. I think it's like a horror, and I'm very excited. Obviously, I will be saving this until the Christmas season next year because I do want to read it when it's like seasonally appropriate, but I did go ahead and pick this up, and I'm really excited to give it a read next year. All right, and that's it, y'all. That is my December reading recap. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, everyone.